Chaos erupted as the cage door burst open. A massive police German Shepherd broke free from his cage, lunging forward, eyes blazing, teeth bared. Officers shouted for everyone to run. People screamed and scattered. Mothers clutched their children tightly to their chests. Shopkeepers abandoned their goods. In the middle of the chaos stood an elderly gentleman gripping his cane. He refused to run away. "Run!" someone yelled, but he didn't. No one could understand why the old man refused to move. He just looked at the dog and took a step forward, calm, almost sad. No one could believe what they were seeing. The dog charged straight at him. Then suddenly the old man whispered something only the dog could hear. What the dog did next shocked everyone. "What connection does this man have to the dog?" someone whispered. No one around knew why this aggressive police dog was attacking the old man. No one could have guessed that this attack would uncover a secret buried for years. Stay with us, because this story will leave you speechless. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Morning sunlight spilled across the police K9 training center, turning the metal cages into rows of glittering steel. Officers moved briskly across the field, shouting commands, whistles cutting through the crisp air. Among the dogs stood one who didn't quite fit the pattern. A powerful German Shepherd named Rex, his golden brown coat gleaming, his amber eyes sharp and restless. Rex was known for excellence, fearless, fast, and fiercely loyal to his handler, Officer Mark Jensen. Yet lately Mark had noticed something strange. During drills, Rex would suddenly stop, lift his head, and stare toward the far end of the compound, the old park beyond the fence. Every time his ears pricked up, his tail stiffened, and a low growl rumbled in his throat as if some unseen force on the other side called to him. "Easy, boy," Mark said one morning, tightening his grip on the leash, but Rex's eyes stayed fixed beyond the wire, refusing to blink. Even the other trainers began to whisper. "He's been different lately," one muttered. "Maybe too much field duty." Mark tried to brush it off. Rex had endured countless missions, bomb detections, rescues, criminal takedowns. Maybe he was simply exhausted. But inside, Mark felt unease curling in his gut. A K9's instincts were never wrong, and Rex's instincts had saved lives before. That afternoon, the training session ran longer than usual. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the yard. Mark unclipped Rex's harness, allowing him a brief rest. An officer at the far end began cleaning the kennels, distracted, humming to himself. And for a few seconds, the latch on Rex's cage didn't click shut. It was all it took. With a sudden metallic clang, the gate swung open. Rex froze for a heartbeat, then bolted through the gap like lightning. Mark spun around. "Rex, heel," he shouted. But the German Shepherd didn't stop. His paws thundered against the concrete, his breath visible in the cooling air as he sprinted toward the outer fence. Alarms erupted. Trainers shouted, radios crackled. "K9 unit escaped." "All units be advised." Mark tore after him, heart hammering. He saw Rex leap over the barrier, a blur of muscle and motion disappearing into the trees beyond the compound. And then, silence. Mark stood there, panting, staring at the broken cage door swinging in the wind. A gut-deep dread washed over him. He had trained Rex better than any dog before, disciplined, loyal, obedient. But something beyond obedience had taken hold this time. Rex wasn't running away. He was running toward something. The sun had barely risen over the city when the police radio crackled with urgency. "All units be advised, K9 Rex trained police dog has escaped the facility. Suspected heading north toward downtown. Use caution. The dog is highly trained and may respond aggressively if provoked." Within minutes, patrol cars fanned out across the streets, sirens wailing, lights slicing through the early morning haze. Pedestrians stopped and stared as announcements echoed from speakers. "Please remain calm. Avoid approaching any large German Shepherd fitting the description." Inside the command center, Officer Mark Jensen stood by the monitor, hands trembling slightly. He'd been in countless dangerous situations, but this felt different. Rex wasn't just his partner, he was family. The two had shared years of missions, rescues, and long, silent nights on duty. The thought of him lost, scared, or misunderstood in a city full of strangers gnawed at Mark's heart. "He won't hurt anyone," Mark said firmly, his voice breaking through the chatter. He's confused. He'll only lash out if he feels threatened. The chief gave him a hard look. Confused or not, Jensen, we can't take chances. If that dog endangers civilians, we'll have to put him down. The words struck like a bullet. Mark clenched his jaw, turning away before his anger showed. No, he thought. I trained him better than that. He's not a killer. Meanwhile, across town, the streets began to clear. Parents hurried their children indoors. Shopkeepers pulled down metal shutters. Somewhere between the alleys and echoing sirens, Rex moved like a shadow, alert, determined. Following a scent only he could understand. He crossed intersections, dodged traffic, his paws beating rhythmically against the asphalt. Cars honked, people shouted, but Rex didn't stop. His nose lifted, catching a familiar scent. Faint, but strong enough to pull him forward. A few blocks away, Edward Grant, an elderly man with a weathered face and kind eyes, strolled slowly through the park, scattering breadcrumbs for pigeons. He'd been coming here every morning for years. Same bench, same cane, same routine. The world around him hurried and changed, but his quiet rituals never did. He didn't yet know that today. His life, and the life of one runaway police dog, were about to collide in a way that would shake the entire city. The park was quiet that morning, sunlight filtering through the tall oaks, the air cool and still. Children's laughter echoed faintly from the far end, and pigeons fluttered at the old man's feet. Edward Grant smiled softly, scattering the last of his breadcrumbs. His wrinkled hands trembled slightly as he leaned on his cane. He didn't notice at first. The rustling in the bushes behind him, the faint thud of heavy paws. But when the birds suddenly burst into flight, startled, he turned. From the shadows, a massive German shepherd emerged, fur bristling, eyes sharp as embers. The dog's growl rumbled through the air, low and dangerous. Gasps rippled through the park. A woman screamed. A jogger froze mid-step. Somebody call animal control. Another shouted, but Edward didn't move. He just stood there, one hand gripping his cane, the other slightly raised as if to calm the beast. The dog, Rex, took a step forward, teeth bared, tail rigid. His breathing was heavy, each exhale puffing dust off the pavement. His gaze locked onto Edward with unsettling focus. Not random, not wild. Specific, easy boy, Edward whispered, his voice calm, unshaken. Something in his tone, deep, gentle, commanding, uncut through the tension like a blade. Rex paused, ears twitching. The growl faltered for a moment. Come on now, Edward said softly. You don't want to do that. Behind him, people began backing away, phones raised, recording the surreal scene. A police siren wailed in the distance, but Edward's attention never wavered. He stared into Rex's eyes, not with fear, but recognition. The shepherd's stance shifted. The aggression in his body language faded, replaced by confusion. He sniffed the air, taking in the man's scent. Something familiar lingered there. Faint traces of old leather, faint oil, the scent of another dog. A scent from years long gone. Rex took another step, then another, his growl melting into a low whine. Edward's eyes softened. That's it. That's right, he murmured. You remember, don't you? The tension in the crowd eased slightly, but no one dared move. Even the children stopped crying, watching in stunned silence. Rex finally stood inches away from Edward, head lowered, chest rising and falling rapidly. The old man reached out a trembling hand, and to everyone's astonishment, the once feral police dog pressed his head gently into Edward's palm. Gasps broke out. Cameras clicked. A woman whispered, "He's not attacking." Edward exhaled slowly, his eyes glistening. "No," he said quietly, stroking the dog's fur. "He's just trying to remember who he is." The world faded around Edward as his trembling hand rested on Rex's head. The barking, the sirens, the crowd, all disappeared into a distant hum. In their place came memories, old and heavy, flooding back like ghosts he thought he had buried forever. Years ago, Edward Grant had worn the same uniform Officer Mark Jensen wore now. He had been a decorated K-9 trainer, respected, fearless, and dedicated. His pride and joy was a dog named Shadow, a majestic black and tan German shepherd with a heart as brave as steel. Shadow wasn't just a partner. He was Edward's only family after his wife passed away. Every morning they trained at dawn, Edward's voice echoing across the training field. Sit, stay, protect!